Welcome back to Grand Arena Championships for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. This is Season 8, Week 1, Round 1, and mistakes were made. We're back to 3v3 this time with ships, and it has been several months since we've done that. I was both excited and nervous about trying this format out again. And in Round 1, I got matched up against Darth Ford Lincoln Mercury. So let's look at the matchup. Look in the overall summary, you can see I have a little more green on my side than he has red on his, but let's look at the particulars of how we match up. When it comes to overall and lifetime statistics, I have a clear advantage on wins, on defends, unders, clears, but when we look at the rosters, it tells a little different story. So he has both the advantage on total GP by almost 500,000, also GP on our top 80 and top 65 tunes, and our characters and our ship. So he has a GP advantage over me in the entire way around. And something I want to point out for sure is he seems to really like ships. He is rank 2 in fleet compared to my 64. Pretty even on Zetas, where I've got a slight speed advantage over him, and relics as well. So let's look at the board. He's already attacked, and let me show you my defenses and how they held up. Up top, I put a Ventress Night Sister Cheese team, a Bears with Hoda and Old Ben, put Shock T with Fives and Echo, and Rex with Clone Sergeant and Ahsoka, and he went through them one shot each time. In my ships, I put Tarkin with Bugs. I tried to keep as much of my firepower for ships for offense because I was anticipating a tough ship battle. On the bottom, he wasn't able to clear. The hardest team I think I put on defense was this Palpatine with Malik and Badstilla, and he one-shot that, so he took a really good team against them. He struggled on my Nute Dooku Nest, took 3 battles, and he never could get through my Padme squad. It took him 5 battles on that, and he gave up, obviously spent. Then when we look at the back, he never got to, but I hit some teams back here, a Grievous with B1, B2, pretty meh Karth team, a Stormtrooper Han with Baze and Sharut, and then this team I really liked on the bottom, the Poggle with Droidica and Magna Guard. I was really hoping to see how that did. I was proud of that team, for lack of a better word, but he didn't end up getting there. So let's see what he set for me to try and dig through. He put a Bosk with Boba and Dengar, and then he put a Jango. He also put his Padme team up here, along with a Biggs and Wedge and Old Ben. I'm guessing his Biggs and Wedge are Gear 12 because, again, he really likes ships. Looking at the bottom zone, he went with a Mission Zalbar and Nest, a Nute squad of his own with a Relic for Asajj, and then a Shock T with some clones. So I wanted to get through this bottom zone first, and I tried to not commit my best squads to it, but turns out I took a couple gambles that I probably shouldn't have. This Shock T, I'm going to go ahead and use my CLS on. I sped up all the battles because there's so many of them 3v3, and I wasn't going to talk so much about individual moves, but more along the lines of how things went. Took Shock T out first, and the rest fell. So that was a great start, but I wish I could have kept that team back for later. On this Nute squad with Ventress, I decided to go with the clones. I was a little worried the Ventress AoE would be a lot and would take out one of my Geos, but I've had success with Nute squads with the Geos before because you're able to pay off the extortion and still get the mass assists, so that works out well. Here I'm looking at making sure I get Ventress down, trying to hold off on the heal as long as I could. But here, when it comes around, I realize I need to take the heal and just get as many banners as I can, and then I get the big hit with Spy. So another 54. So far, so good. Everything's going really well. Now this is where I make my first mistake. I wanted really to try this Bosk team with Grief Karga and the Mandalorian. I put a little work into their gear, although they're both low gear, and I'm just hoping that I can get the contract up fast enough to disintegrate Nest. The problem is Bosk leadership requires you to hit the weakest enemy, and I stupidly didn't think about that because Zalbar is never going to be the weakest enemy, and so I never got the contract out, and I'm just stuck behind Zalbar. Meanwhile, Zalbar's AoE and Nest AoE is able to go around Bosk's taunt, took out Grief, and Mando really never stood a chance. So that was unfortunate because, again, if I would have kept that team for later, as you'll see, I could have used him, that team, against another squad. So I decided I needed to clear this group so that I could see what was in back. So I ended up using my Traya trio. And honestly, I probably should have just used the Traya trio from the beginning. Able to isolate Zalbar and then pick off Mission. And then I just kept hitting Zalbar, waiting for Annihilate to come up on Nest. And there we go, took out Nest. Got Held by Hatred up, just making sure I'm full health. Taking down Zalbar, and there he goes. So 33 banners is, I guess, fine. I only lost one banner on that after losing the 20 already. In the back, he's got a cart squad, a crew squad with Watt, and then 2 Night Sister squads. So I decided I'm going to go up top, and I'm going to try and take these other squads out. And here was another huge mistake. I shouldn't have taken this Darth Revan squad against this Padme, because my Darth Revan squad here has HK and Marauder, no Bastila, and I get unlucky there that I didn't get a shock on GK. At this point, I'm already pretty much done. Anakin takes out my Darth Revan. I'm hoping I can get somebody out. I do, I get GK out. But it was just a bad matchup from the get-go. I should have saved that squad for a different team. With 3v3, it really highlights the matchups. And if you just take the wrong squad, even if they're as well geared or better geared, it doesn't really make a difference. Here's a different example. I took my JTR against their Bosk, knowing that it's a good matchup. I decided to leave that Padme for later. Just doing my wiggle, trying to get rid of Boba. Bosk has the double Zeta, so even though I did the wave, he didn't lose his taunt. But I figure I'll eat through him quickly enough. I always have to remind myself when I'm fighting this battle that not to try and stealth with R2 if Dengar's already stealth. There he wasn't, so I decided to put everybody under, get my Illuminated Destiny off. And I was a little worried about this attack because BB-8 and R2 don't have a ton of damage, but the matchup is just so much in the Resistance favor that it didn't really matter. I'm trying to postpone here to try and get another Illuminated Destiny off, but I'm just too far away from it, and eventually it doesn't matter. I'm trying my hardest to not kill him, but he goes down. So 51, a one-shot is good enough. He only was able to get through 2 of my zones anyway, so I knew I had some wiggle room. Now, here's another mistake. I was fairly confident that my troopers could take out this bounty hunter squad. His Greedo was super squishy, but because there was a feat for the Hoth battle, I decided to take in Snow Trooper instead of Range Trooper. And so I wasn't the perfect comp for me. My Range Trooper is better than my Snow Trooper, so Jango and taking him out. I decided that I'm gonna go ahead and just throw in some kind of throwaway squad to get that Jango down. I decided to use my own Wedge and Biggs with Chopper. Figured get my taunt up on him, and even though I have to tear through Jango twice here, that I should be able to do it. Now, it turns out that I do, and I lose some banners on that, but at least I didn't commit another squad. Next, I'm gonna take this Akbar squad. This is a weird team because I don't perceive his wedge and Biggs as a huge threat. And all of these tunes, my Akbar and my Leia and my C3PO, are well enough geared, but it's just one of those squads where whichever one gets rolling first is probably going to win. And thankfully, I was able to pull it out, but I lost Akbar in the process. So not great banners at all, 48, but I did one-shot them. I'm trying really hard to conserve teams. Now here is mistake number 2. I was thinking that I could use Fracture with Thrawn and I'd have enough damage from Wampa to get these guys down. And at first it started working out fine. I was fracturing Padme, and here she's in the red and I just can't get her down. And then I stupidly changed to Anakin and it just didn't work. So I'm pretty upset at this point. I've committed 2 good teams, my Darth Revan squad and Thrawn and Wampa. Now I'm going to take my crew team against it, and I'm hoping to stun them, but that was stupid. Mistakes were made again. I should have stunned Padme, because as soon as Padme does her defense up move, she's going to clear that stun from Anakin. So it's an unavoidable stun, but it can be cleansed. And I did it not once, but twice in a row, and I really should have just been trying to take out Padme. I was just so concerned with Anakin and the power behind him. I really thought I would get him down there, and I didn't again. And at that point, it's too late. I need to switch back to Padme, but she's got 13 stacks of courage. So now I've wasted a 3rd good squad, and I finally just say, look, I have to get through this zone in order just to get even with him. And so I break down and I go ahead and use my Jedi Knight Revan squad, which is probably the squad I should have just used in the first place. Even then, I don't play this very well either. I'm using assists when I really shouldn't be. I finally remember partway through, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be assisting. And they go down without much problem. And again, I should have just used this squad from the get-go, and it would have saved 3 squads for later use. Okay, here is disaster. Here he has his negotiator. This guy loves ships, and my ships are underdeveloped. And so I just was hoping for the best. I put in my guys and I play it just like I do in Arena every day. But unfortunately, my Anakin didn't get the buff immunity on his Hound's Tooth. So now I'm stuck behind his Hound's Tooth. I lose my Ahsoka right away. And I could have absolutely played this better than I did. But the reality is I need to start investing quite a bit more resources into my ships, because even though I don't care about them on a day-to-day basis, I'm fine sitting between 50 and 100 in Fleet Arena. It's always in Grand Arena, and I'm continually struggling with it. So this is about as bad as it can get. I don't take out a single one of his ships, and I go down to defeat. So I did keep as much as I could for offense. The problem is the other good fleet I have is my Millennium Falcon Home 1 fleet, and they're basically 100% countered by that negotiator fleet. I decided to go with the double tank to try and protect my Millennium Falcon as long as I can, so I put in the Y-Wing there. It doesn't matter. He goes down super fast, and my Millennium Falcon gets taken out before he can even get his buff up. At this point, I'm pretty convinced, I am sure, that I'm not going to clear his ships. So I already am beating him in banners at this point, just barely, but I'm not 100% sure that he's done attacking. I mean, he has put 5 attacks in on that Padme squad, but maybe if he logs in, he sees I only have a 6 banner cushion, he says I need to try some more. So I go after this back zone, and I decide I'm going to start against his Night Sister team, one of his Night Sister teams, and I have my Jango Boba lead here with Sunfac as my tank. I love Jango and Boba, the Fets, because they can both attack outside of a taunt, and Jango has his unique Zeta so that he can kill without revive, and so does Boba, has his big execute. So I lost Sunfact already, but as long as they took up enough damage that the Fets lived long enough, I lost Django on his first one there, but I'm able to get out Spirit. Now it's just down to Zombie. So again, not good banners, but I just want clears at this point, and they were able to do that for me. Next, I decide to try and get tricky here, I guess. I don't think this Canderous squad's very tough, so I have this Maul and Savage and Sith Trooper, and my initial thought when I made this squad was just it would be a mop-up squad, protect Savage long enough, somebody's already in the yellow, and take him out. So I was just hoping that this squad was weak enough that I could get somebody down in yellow, Savage could take him out, could steamroll through. Maul's lead would, I have a Zeta from a long time ago when that was meta. So I knew that Maul and Savage would be safe, getting in stealth and being behind Sith Empire Trooper. I just didn't expect to not be able to get anybody down. It was a little bit of a risk. It was not that big of a deal that I lost this one. But again, mistakes were made all over the place. And if I wouldn't have burned so many good teams on Padme, the back here would have been so much easier. At this point, I'm kind of looking at what I have left, which is not a ton, and what is left on the board. And I decided to try something else that I thought was a little tricky. And that is, I decided to go with this thermal detonator squad against the Night Sisters. Now, I really did this because I thought that was Acolyte. I didn't look closely enough, and I figured they were in stealth, and I needed something with good AoE, and I figured the detonators would be good for that. But it turned out it wasn't Acolyte anyway. It was Initiate. But good old Zam and Dangar and Greedo throwing all those thermals, able to get these guys down, and frankly, it was super effective. A 53, one of my better scores. So I'll have to remember that's pretty effective when the other team doesn't have a ton of offense. I do have my Mother Talzin squad, and so I decided to take that against the Karth team. At this point, I wasn't sure that I'd be able to get the crew team down regardless, so even though this was my best squad left by far, I decided to use it on this team because I was thinking that even if I went against that crew with Watt, that it wouldn't work anyway. So this one worked, and I got 31, and that's fine. And now I go against crew, and I just threw team after team. My whole goal was just to get rid of Watt. So you can see I tried some Jawas, thinking maybe their detonators would get Watt out, and you can see that didn't work. Next, I decided I went with this resistance, knowing that Vet Han and Vet Chewie had some AoE. Again, just trying to get Watt out, and that didn't work. I forfeited. Here, I was hoping Death Trooper's grenade might do enough, which was silly because there was definitely not enough DPS there. That didn't work. Next, I considered giving up, but I thought, how about a bunch of tunes that have dispels, and maybe I could dispel the Ever Taunt enough that it would let me in, but that was a terrible idea. I didn't know what I was thinking. Again, here, just throwing stuff together and not really thinking about the kits well enough. I don't have Watt, so I don't know how his mechanism works again as well as I should. Here, Hux and some resistance again, some AoE, trying to get Watt down, and that still didn't work. But am I ready to give up? No. I'm going to keep throwing teams at this one. IG-88 with Cad and Sidious, thinking maybe the healing immunity. That didn't work either. At this point, I really am considering giving up, but I have one more card to play, and so I go with IPD. And I put in L3 to try and buy him enough time to get damaged but not die. And here he gets damaged by crew, and I get my taunt back up, and we just need Kylo to AoE, which he did, and I get the blow up, and I get crew down. So now I think, hey, even though I just threw away 6 other teams, he has no crew anymore, no taunt, and now maybe I can get Watt down and make some progress. So I took this resistance team thinking that my Scavray and my resistance trooper can hit hard enough that I can take Watt down, and I do a little work and I'm able to get him down. And now I'm thinking maybe I can even get Kylo, but he already has the tech on him, and so he's getting healed constantly and there's no chance. I'm not doing any damage to him really. So that's done, but now no Watt, no crew, it's just Kylo, and we all know what that means. That means the Ewoks can come in to finish him off. And sure enough, after a few throws and some days from Longray, we're able to whittle him down little by little. It's not great banners, obviously. This is the 9th team I used to try and take this team down, but eventually those murder bears did it. So I'm able to clear 3 of his 4 zones. I don't get the ships down. I kind of had a feeling that might be the way it was going to happen, but I did win 21-17 to 17-26. I made a ton of mistakes, but it is 3v3, and that's going to happen. So on to next round. I'm happy to get the win. He never did come back to attack. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next round.